Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Road to Retirement. My name is Chris Anselmo with Brookside Tax and Financial Group. Along with me is Tony Shore, our co-host, and Tony Jr. over there. He's also an advisor in our office. So, unfortunately, the Indians are out, or the Guardians are out. We lost to the Yankees the other day, but it was a good run. It's gonna be tough to get back because it's so unusual for the youngest team in baseball to win a division, right? So,
yeah, and you can't even still. You still in a small market or a mid market, you really can't take it for granted. You have to enjoy it while it's here, because the very next year, I mean, Tony Shore, you saw how competitive the division was this year. You're up in Minnesota, so I mean, you saw how competitive it was until really the very end. It looked like it was a blowout.
Well, and we had a extremely unusual month. Like the month of September, we went 24-6 or something. I mean, who does that, right? So, but
the Guardians did it, and you looked at doing it, and I mean, and we helped you out a bit by tanking. My Twins tanked at the end.
I thought we caught the Yankees at the right time because they did not have a good September. I mean, they were up like 15 games to start the month. But anyhow, So, Mr. Marlette, what are we talking about today?
Well, speaking of changes maybe needed in baseball, we have some changes coming next year to some different programs like Social Security, Medicare, tax brackets, and retirement accounts. So I thought we'd get started with Social Security changes that are coming for next year.
Big increase.
Yeah, 8.7%.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Is that the largest ever, or since the early 80s anyway?
Yeah, I was going to say it's the early 80s. We used to get increases of like 1% to 2%, but every Social Security recipient is going to get an 8.7. It's not really a raise.
It's trying to keep pace with inflation, right?
Right.
So, so the self-imposed inflation actually helps Social Security recipients.
It just helps them keep pace, basically.
In theory.
Yeah.
Oh, you worked that in. Chris, you said self-imposed inflation.
I caught it.
It was. I mean, look, you shut down the oil pipelines we talked about. Yeah. Look, price of oil affects everything. All the costs of goods. I mean, everything has to be shipped, right? I mean, the produce from California doesn't walk to Ohio. It has to come on a truck, right, or a train.
Yeah. Well, and Social Security, it's about time we got a decent increase. I mean, over the last 20 years, sure, inflation's been low, but there were like 3 years in there where there was no cost of living adjustment, or it was like 2 or 3 when actual inflation, not the government's formula, but the actual inflation was closer to probably 5 or 10.
And they really didn't see it, because then they increased the cost of Medicare, so they took it back basically. So.
Yeah, this is an actual increase.
This is an actual increase. And again, to your point, Chris, about Medicare, this is the first one that they've had where Medicare is not just absorbing it, because Medicare costs have actually, to our next point, are going to go down. One thing that we've talked about before is increasing the maximum earnings amount. That went up as well, too. So that's up to, I think it was $147,000 in income. They don't tax for Social Security after that. Now it's $160,200 next year.
Right. And Medicare, I think, I don't know what the upper limit. Almost everyone. I don't know if Medicare has an upper limit anymore. But so even though you stop paying Social Security, you still paying the Medicare.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
The earnings limit for your, if you have earned income in retirement and you're collecting Social Security, that's up a little bit next year. So, if you're under full retirement age and you do have earned income, you can have up to $21,240 before they start the 50% reduction after that.
And then the other limit is I think it was like 182,000. If you were married, if you have more than that in income, you're going to end up paying more for your Medicare premiums, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not like you get any more Medicare.
Right.
But you get to pay more. But
right.
Like if I'm going to pay more, I should get more. Right.
Yeah. The premium is actually going down. And that's why it's sometimes that the way it works, if the Medicare premium adjusts up, that absorbs some of the Social Security hit, or if it stays the same, that kind of neutralizes the inflation.
Yeah.
I don't know, but anyway,
Well,
it's going down next year,
yeah,
which I thought was bizarre too.
where people get hung up on it sometimes is we're trying to do some Roth conversions and take care of the taxes while tax rates are low, and then if we go over that limit, then they're paying more for their Medicare premium, and unfortunately, that's just the cost of doing business. But it's substantial. Instead of going from $100 and some a month, it's $370 something a month. And then they're like, what? And like, well, but we took advantage of the 12% tax bracket. So, or 50 or 20% tax bracket. So that's something we have to look at when people do Roth conversions. But if they go over a little bit, if you could plan it and you're $2 under, you're fine. And if you're $2 over, you're spending $300 some a month for Medicare. So
Yikes.
that has to be,
right.
And some people we watch it, some people are like, look, I understand you're going to pay more for Medicare, but would you rather take your money out at 20% or 39.5%? So,
right.
So that's, I hate to say that's cost doing business, but sometimes it is. But
well, yeah. And I mean, you look at it like the tax is a one-time thing. The Medicare though is,
a couple of years. For 2 years.
Right.
But
so the premium's going down from 170 to 165. The deductible going down to 226. So that's not a huge. It's like $7. It's not a huge.
How does anything go down right now?
Huge deal. Hey, medical costs always decrease, don't they?
Yeah, everything is going up in costs, and they're reducing Medicare.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And then we have unconfirmed so far. Now it's not usually the IRA 401k limits don't get announced until late November, but I've seen many sources, many different pretty reliable sources say that IRA contributions are going to go up $500. So it'll be $6,500 if you're under 50, $7,500 if you're over 50.
That's just a stupid limit. I mean, it should be like 10% of your pay or what. I mean,
yeah,
there should be like really. I mean, look, if you put $6,000 away for your whole working career a year, you're never going to have enough money.
Right. Yeah, you need that 401k, that simple IRA or the SEP IRA to get ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, $6,000 for 20 years is only $120,000.
Well, especially with the matching, a 401k.
Yeah.
And the IRA doesn't even have matching. Right. So 401k limits went up. They're at 22.5 next year.
But not everyone, a lot of smaller businesses don't have 401k plans. I mean, we have a simple IRA plan here, but and 75% of all businesses are small businesses. So, to allow people only put 6,000 or 6,500 away, it's just sinful. I think they should just look. You could put X percent of your income, because there's other plans that allow you to put up to 25% of your income away if you're self-employed. But why isn't the regular? If they can put 25% away, why can't the regular Joe put 25% away? It's just
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's way too complicated. I mean, all the 401k plans, the SEP plans, the 403b, I mean, they all have different limits. They all have different rates. They all have different penalties when you take them in and out. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it should be one rate you put in and one rate you take out. I mean, but that would be too simple. But, why do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some of this, I think, especially with Social Security, now they're basically admitting that it's not going to be like zero for anybody, but there's a shortfall. Maybe they need to think about increasing IRA and Roth contributions significantly as opposed to $500 a year.
So people would save. So people would save their own money, right? So I mean, if you give a person incentive to save for more money, then maybe Social Security wouldn't be bearing the burden of everything in the future. So,
right. Other changes, Chris, we talked about tax bracket changes. These are, I believe, they appear to me, and you looked at them briefly, just really indexed to inflation for income purposes.
Yeah, so they're not. So when I first heard it in the news a few days ago, it sounded like they were changing tax rates. They're not changing tax rates. What they're doing is making the brackets wider, which is actually a good thing, right? So that you're not jumping into the next bracket sooner than you'd have to. So if let's say the one bracket would end at 50,000, maybe now it ends at 60,000. So they're actually making the brackets a little higher because inflation, people hopefully are getting paid a little more, and they didn't want it to negatively affect them, but which is odd for Democrats. But I don't know. They probably didn't do the upper brackets. Probably just, I don't know if they did all the brackets or middle brackets. And
it looks like all of them. Yeah, there's a difference in all of them. So the top brackets,
but it's not significant, right? It's like
no
$1,000 or something. So
yeah, lower brackets, higher ones, there's even a difference of like 46,000. But that's by the time you get there, you're at 700,000 in income. So
yeah, that's kind of great. There's not many of those people, right? So. But when I was at that conference, I have to grab my notes. I wrote it down. They said something like only, I don't want to misquote, I should write it, but something like only 15% of America has $500,000. And wow. I think 10% has more than $1 million. So there's a lot of people that saving for retirement is going to be important because they just don't have a boatload of money. But
right.
Well, what's a 1%er? You think it's a lot, but a few years ago, a 1%er was 370,000 a year in income. I mean, it just doesn't sound like 99% of people are under that number. That's almost unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
it is really surprising.
Yeah,
I mean, because it doesn't in this day and age, even though it's a lot more than the radio show co-host salary, is what I'm dealing with. But seriously, that's not in this day and age. You'd think there'd be more people would have more money, making more.
I mean, that's a lot of money to make a year.
Oh, for sure.
But,
no doubt.
But that's the upper echelons, right? I mean, everyone thinks the top 1% is making $100 million a year. They're not, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Unless you're a baseball player, but that's a whole other situation. Unless you're a Yankee,
pro athlete,
damn Yankees. Yeah.
But all right, gentlemen, I'm dropping off. I'll keep it going.
Yeah,
but I'm going to drop off.
He's got an appointment at 9:30. So
okay. Well, all right. Tony, it's a great topic because there are a lot of changes happening, and these changes happen without people realizing.
For sure, yeah. And I mean that's the benefit, and I'm sure you'll make the point of working with us. Keep yourself informed, and obviously, work with us, and it's kind of baked in already.
Yeah. So on the financial side of some of the changes we've seen are products that have give you some more protection than in the past, that you could actually be invested in the market, but still have what we talked about buffers or things like that, Tony, before. So for instance, there is I don't mention company names, but there is a product right now that we've been using a lot of that, for instance, it has a negative 15% protection level. So let's say,
wow.
So let's say you put in $100,000 in this product, and a year from now, so they peg it to the S&P 500. A year from now, if it's $100,000 or more, they pay you, at least in this month, 13.25. Like it doesn't have to go up 13.25. It's just a trigger. As long as it doesn't go down to 13.25. But on the downside, they give you 15% protection. So if that $100,000 dropped to $85,000, they reimburse you that 15% loss. So for some people, that might be, that are leery about going back into the market, that might be an option. So there are some companies that are offering those that have some downside protection and allow you to be in the market where
that's a buffered index portfolio, right?
Yeah. So either buffered index portfolio, or there's some annuities that have similar things like that.
Sure.
So the buffer means that downside protection's a buffer. So, and then there are some that, crazy enough, there are some that we call dual directional, where you could actually make money on the way down. That's a little probably more complicated than talking on this show. But the point is, these are changes that are in the marketplace that generally weren't out there, 2-3 years ago. So, talk to your investment professional, call us, maybe because people are leery about getting back in the market without some protection. And when we
Yeah.
use index annuities, we've talked about those many shows. Basically, those have 100% buffer. Like you're not losing money because you're not in the market. The insurance company is just going to pay you interest based on the S&P 500 or some other index, but you have 100% protection on the way down. So make sure you get a quality insurance company, because who's backing that
Right.
that guarantee is the insurance company, not
Right.
any type of insurance. So
Yeah, that is one change that we've seen come about this year, and I think will continue into next year. Our financial opportunities have changed, and financial vehicles have changed.
Yeah.
On the investment side and on the insurance side, the investment and insurance companies have realized people need help, and if they want to get people's money, they've got to offer more incentives.
And
So-
some of them are hybrids, like the one I was talking about is actually technically a 1-year variable annuity, where like if you want any type of protection, the only one allowed to give it to you is insurance company. So if you want this downside protection, you're gonna have an insurance company is going to be involved. Generally, you can do it with options, and I think one of our fund companies that we use a lot does similar things with options. But
Sure.
but I think a lot of our clients are like, they're so leery about the market, and I want them to be in, because as we talked on other shows, you just can't time the market, right? So
No.
so if you're in, but now can afford you some protection, I'm okay with 13 and a quarter in 1 year.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the really neat part about that product is it doesn't have to go up 13. Like most products, to make 13 and a quarter, it has to go up 13 and a quarter. This
Mhm.
one, as long as it doesn't go down, it's called a trigger. As long as it doesn't go down, boom, you get 13 and a quarter. But you have 15% protection. Then whatever happens the following year is whatever the rates are. You can stay in the product. So they change the rates every month based on inflation, based on what's going on. So, earlier in the year, they were maybe 8% and a 15% down. Now when interest rates went up, theirs went up. So I'm just saying, these are types of change. We're talking about
Sure.
changes today. So, talk to your investment professional, call us if you need help. But
They've really improved those vehicles this year. I mean, with the MIGA and the buffered index portfolio, the MIGA, and
so for our listeners, a MIGA is a multi-year like fixed annuity. It's kind of like a CD, but through an insurance company. So you could buy them 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, and it's just a flat rate of interest. So we have some right now that are probably paying over 4% for 4-year products. So that's not too bad when the bank's paying a quarter or 1%. So I mean, you just got to ask your investment professional what's out there. Now you're not going to throw all your money in these, because you need some liquidity. You need some money.
Sure.
You need some money in the local bank. So if you had an emergency, you can do that. But we often see that people have, I don't want to say this wrong, too much money in a local bank. I mean, I guess you can never have too much money, but the price for liquidity is low interest. So, we see people.
I mean, do you really need $250,000 sitting in the bank making almost no interest? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
The facetious part, when I talk to clients that do that, I'm like, look, the reason you have $250,000 is because you're a saver. Like people who are spenders don't have that, right?
Right.
So when are you ever going to spend $250,000 at one sitting, unless you're
in
buying
cash?
unless you're buying a house or something, right?
I mean, even piecemeal, even a new furnace or remodeling, or I mean, you could, it would, you don't need that much in cash.
Yeah, you probably don't need more than 100, but everyone's got their own comfort level. But
Sure.
The price for that comfort is you're not getting any interest. You're not keeping pace with it. Look, inflation has been running 8 or 9% this year. So when
you're losing money.
Yeah. So
your
if
250 is not going to be worth 250 next year.
So if you have so if you have $100,000 in there and inflation's 8%, well, next year that's like only having 92 in there. Right?
Yeah.
So those are things to talk about. You want, look, everybody I had a client the other day. Well, can you get me 10% with no risk? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Dream come true.
Right? I'd have a line from here to Minnesota, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
but to get nothing is not so. You got to be cautious, but some part of your money should probably be in the market. Now, look, if you have, I don't want to throw numbers out there, but if you have, I don't know, let's say you had 50 grand to your name and you're retired, maybe you shouldn't be in the market at all. Right? I mean, I don't know the exact number, but
Yeah.
there's a point where, you need
You can't afford to take
right,
the risk,
right. You can't
It's
afford to
about the
take the
risk.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you look out for what's in somebody's best
Yeah.
interest. You're going to look at their personal situation and say, "Oh, absolutely not. You shouldn't be in any
Yeah.
of these products, and you
Yeah.
shouldn't be,
And it's
messing around. You gotta."
it's
Yeah.
sometimes an uncomfortable conversation, to tell people, look, you don't have enough money to take this risk.
Right.
But the first thing, one of the first things we do when we sit down with people is we do that color money risk questionnaire to determine how much risk they want to take, and we could tweak it a little bit if maybe they're a little more aggressive than their number says, or less aggressive than their number says. So we could tweak it a little bit. But if you're 62 years old and you have $10,000, look, I can't put you in the market, right? I mean,
Right.
we do great work here, but you're just gonna have to keep working or live off your Social Security, because I can't turn $100,000 into $1 million. I mean, that what I'm saying. So without taking crazy amounts of risk. So and at the same time, if you have 10 grand and I put you in something with crazy amounts of risk, and you lose it, right? So, it's just we don't want those conversations for our clients. So
Right.
so you really got to be cautious, but there are things out there now, basically changes that you can be in the market and have some protection. So
Sure.
we like using those right now. So
Did your light go out?
yeah, we have a little timer on the light. If you're not moving around, it goes off. So
You
I'm
were
like,
sitting too
okay.
still during the show. I'm like, wow, Chris went dark there for a minute.
So I think the show's over, guys. Now,
Yeah.
so we're 20 some minutes into this.
Yeah.
Any closing comments, Tony?
Well, just to reiterate, we're talking about changes that are coming up or happening. And, we talked about Social Security, the increase, the cost of living adjustment. We talked about Medicare. Some Medicare prices are actually going down, and it's open enrollment. So there are changes you need to look at in Medicare. And then we talked about IRAs, changes to IRAs and 401ks, how much you can contribute. And we wrapped it up just to do a summary with other financial changes that are happening, and some new vehicles and tools and options out there as far as investing. So I think that's a great show, and I appreciate you and Tony putting that together, because that's important for people to understand.
So the other 2023 changes that I don't like are the baseball rules.
Oh, are they change? What are they changing?
So this is what's going to happen next year. Next year, all the infielders have to be on the dirt to start. Nobody playing mid right center field or whatever.
What?
Yeah, you know how they do the shift and the second baseman's halfway. So none of that next year.
Interesting.
Two fielders have to be on both sides of second base. The other one is, which I don't like, there's if you're a pitcher and you throw, at a runner at first base, let's say first base, you can only throw over twice. If you throw over a third time, if he's not out, he gets second base.
What?
Yeah. So
why did they come up with that rule? Are they trying to give teams more of a chance, or scoring?
No, they're trying to, in theory, they're trying to speed up the game. But and batters, you only have like 15 seconds to pitch to a batter. And look, the game takes 3 hours. I don't care. Generally takes 3 hours. Basketball takes 3 hours. Football takes 3 hours. Hockey takes. What's really, I think, behind the scenes is, like, if we can speed up the game, we can show more commercials.
Probably.
Right. Yeah. That's what's really driving it, right? Because the commercial revenue drives all these big, like the Yankees, they have 20 million people watching their games. So that's how they get all their money. So
yeah,
but I don't like it. So like, you're a professional hitter and they got this big shift, hit the other way. Like, you're the top 400 hitters in the world. You should be able to hit it the other way. So
yeah.
So that's
true.
hopefully
And
All
I
right, so-
noticed your name today. We didn't address this on the show, but Chris SpongeBob and
Well, we
Selmo.
didn't say it on the show. As you know, the baseball players today, a lot of them have walk-up songs when they're getting up to the plate.
Yep.
So one of our guys, Oscar Gonzalez, his walk-up song is SpongeBob SquarePants. So, my brother and I have really good seats. So we have front row seats at the Guardians games, and so I wore the SpongeBob T-shirt. So every time he comes up, I'm on my chair, I'm on the jumbotron, and SpongeBob. So now it's like a little cult going on. People are wearing SpongeBob costumes and stuff, but unfortunately, we're no longer in the playoffs. So.
Yeah. Well, I think you gave it a good run, and I think you've got a good young team there. So you surprised everybody.
We just need more money. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But
well, that's everybody's problem, right? That's why we do the show. We all need more money.
The Guardians need more money.
Yeah. Well,
right.
yeah, you're in the same boat as the Twins. We're very similar in that sense.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the whole Central Division, other than Chicago, probably is.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, take us out.
All right. Well, that does it for today's episode of The Road to Retirement with our host, Chris Anselmo.
All right. See you next week.